So Josh, we're talking about some new tools that Airbnb came out with. You self-manage your property. You don't use all the fancy owner reses and the PM property management systems. You just manage your property on Airbnb, like many of our listeners might be doing. And so Airbnb just dropped their new host tools that's kind of trying to compete with some of the things with like Price Labs, Rank Breeze. Is it mostly a price optimization tool? Talk to me about that, because I don't know and don't manage my own properties, but talk to me about some of those tools that you're able to tap into. Is it because you obviously, you within our Vodyssey community, you're very familiar with our underwriting and help our members with a lot of underwriting with AirDNA. How is this tool helping you as a host, but also be able to look at the data and make really smart investment pricing type decisions? Is that mostly what it is?
Yeah, I mean, like a couple different ways. One, when we first started out, we had a PMS and we went through it, but the reality was I didn't need it. And it wasn't because it's a bad tool. It was just like, hey, from the way that I'm running the operation and the way that I like to get my hands dirty, paying $49 a month just didn't make sense. Why? I'm only using 2 of the features of the 87 others it has. I didn't need it, right? But from the hosting tool standpoint and what matters, I personally, no offense to any listeners out there, I would not use Airbnb's pricing strategies, right? Airbnb's pricing strategy is to make Airbnb money, not you money per se, right? And so I'm here to make me money. And so that's my priority focus. For us, we use Price Labs, right? But we don't set it and forget it. I think you need to have your finger on the pulse. You need to understand why pricing changes are happening. If something looks off, it probably is. Right. And if you can't identify why this is wrong, then we need to understand the why behind it. Within Vodyssey, we say this a lot, especially in our self-management calls. At Vodyssey, we are in an echo chamber of high performers. It's really easy to get lost in the nuances when you're at the top and everyone else is at the top with you. But the majority of hosts are not, right? And the middle gets real messy. So a lot of the Airbnb host tools, the overall goal for them giving you this information, first and foremost, is to help their conversion. They're like, hey, if we can better educate the host to do a better job, we will make more money. They didn't do it to be nice. They did it because it'll help them make more money, right? Photo Tour, which I think is savvy users should get off Photo Tour immediately. Photo Tour helps the majority of Airbnbs get better bookings because the average person using grandma's furniture and, like the bathroom is coming up ahead of the living room. They just, hey, we're going to have AI do it. You just sit back and relax. And to the average person, use Photo Tour, and that's fine. Those are a little more savvy. But from the host tool standpoint, you can see a lot of these comparable things on sites like Rank Breeze or Price Labs. I like to dabble in all those because I do lead that within the program to make sure that are we on the surface of something, but we also understand how these metrics are figured out. And won't dive too far in it, but think about this. For us, something that Mike dives into a good bit here is who are you talking to? Right? If you're advertising to golfers, we're themed out for golf, and that's who we're talking to. If you're on the Bourbon Trail, it's groups of guys. If you're a bachelorette pad in Nashville, it's pink. It's Shania Twain and Taylor Swift in white cowgirl boots, right? I personally would not stay there. Now, someone got it to me for free, I would, but I'm not looking for a bachelorette pad, right? So who are we talking to? And then how's that individual going to end up converting into your place? So for us, if we have we cater to families with small children, specifically 5 and under. And we're not talking to dad. We don't care if it's credit card. We talk to mom, right? It's my wife's face on the listing because one, she's a lot better looking, and 2, mom would rather talk to mom than me, right? So all that part there is at play. When we look at these host tools, though, a lot of the blanket ones, it'll say, oh, you're showing up on page 2 for 4 guests. Well, if I'm catering to families with small children, well, how's that guest dynamic? Is it 2 adults and 2 children, 2 adults, 1 child, 1 infant, right? But usually most of those sites are just blanket 4 guests. And so a lot of those rankings are not going to be indicative of where you truly are based upon who you're talking to, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So like Rank Breeze, for example, I like Rank Breeze, but Rank Breeze is a pretty blind search, right? So if I can say, hey, if I'm a 2-bedroom unit and I book mainly to one family and their kids, and I'm on page 5 with 4 guests, go to an incognito window and go look up 2 adults and a kid and an infant, or 2 adults and 2 kids, and see where you show up then. And you may show up in a completely different place, good or bad, right? Based on who your conversion is. But we also have to understand, again, not too far on a tangent, that anything that we do on our end, good or bad, that potentially could affect Airbnb making money, right? You get punished for it. Right. So if you had a guest canceled just because, hey, we're not coming in town anymore. Thank you so much for the opportunity to give us the ability to cancel. Even though we're being more flexible as a host to allow them to, it's not, they have that cancellation window, we actually get dinged for that. We get punished until a new review or new booking comes in, right? Those things, those small nuances. We had a member, I think, last week on Whiskey Wednesday about the smoking, someone smoking pot in the unit, right? And I had a call with her, right? And I was like, is it worth it? I was like, is it worth the ding to go after an extra $100 on Airbnb? And if you're crushing it, right, and the damage was severe, go for it. But in general, it's not worth the dip in the rankings you're going to get, because we are not their customer, we're their vendor, and vendors are easily replaceable. So I think very long tangent there, but I think with the hosting tools is a lot of ways for the average consumer who maybe doesn't dive into it that much to get a better overall understanding of how the process works, right? And it'll be better for everybody to understand the basic rules of the road, right? We can all get on the road because we have driver's licenses, and we do that to make sure we all understand what a four-way stop is, and some people still don't get that, right? But in general, we still have like, hey, this is how everyone drives, right? And the more we can do that basic education, or Airbnb the basic education to their vendors, the better conversion rates everybody has and the more money they make. And it's that simple.
No, Sean, I want to focus on an element of this that Josh brought up, which is even when you're doing Airbnb and VRBO will ding you for doing anything that keeps them from making money and or that cause them to not have another option to capture that money if you pull out of the listing. And I guess a different way of saying that is all of these big management companies, all of them, they all want their clients to be virtually interchangeable from a operational standpoint, because if someone books your property and your property looks like 85% of the other properties selling at the same dollar amount, I can punish you and say, bad you got a cancellation and it didn't rebook. And I had to move you over to another guy that 85 out of 100 listings look just like yours. So the customer's happy. They don't feel like they lost anything. They're satisfied. And you're just going to be put in purgatory for a minute until you get another listing, right? When your listing is astronomically different, most property managers who manage 20, 30, 40 units, most big places are going to say, ooh, nobody does that. This is a mistake. This is bad. And they're telling you this because if someone books the Cinderella's Castle suite at Disney World and you're staying in Cinderella's Castle and something happens and that gets canceled and they now have to just move you to one of 10,000 hotel rooms in the rest of the Disney park, there's a loss that you feel. I had something incredible and now I have lost it. So Disney now has to throw in 50,000 other things to make you not feel a loss. Airbnb doesn't want to do that. Vrbo doesn't want to do that. Vacasa doesn't want to do that. Property managers don't want to do that. They just want everything to be interchangeable. Now you might be hearing this going, oh, so standing out is bad. No, standing out and being that first choice, you're going to have less people cancel on you. You're going to have less people. And when you do get canceled on, you're going to get rebooked very quickly, because when someone jumps up there and they're making a last second booking and it's all of the same, and then it's like, how is this available? Automatic booking. And you virtually don't lose, because even when you get canceled on, because you're already attracting higher echelon clients that are less likely to cancel, and you're doing those extra things Josh mentioned to be flexible for your clients, you're going to get rebooked so quickly that Airbnb doesn't get mad at you because you're right back in the game. But the advice you're going to get from most people is to not stand out, to not be abnormal, to not be special. And that's a selfish piece of advice coming from the property manager that I've got to deal with this all the time with our clients, shifting their mindset that this is about standing out. Okay. So all that we're talking to here leads to one thing. The goal should not be to be the top 50%. The goal should not be to be the top 70%. The goal is to be better than average, or is not to be good enough or even better than average, is to be the first choice. So that even when something goes wrong, you're automatically the first choice again. So if you design this way, going back to what we've previously talked about, building around emotion, experience, intentional differentiation, or as my mom always used to say, doing common things in uncommon ways. You're not just improving your listing, you're repositioning it.
Yeah.
That's how properties move into the top 10%, sometimes the top 1%. We have over 100 different unique markets where we're the number one listing in the market, not because they spent more money, they made intentional decisions with their money. So everyone, like Sean said on these other podcasts, is going to talk about standing out. But if they don't know how to take it a step further, you won't actually stand out, because the goal shouldn't be to stand out. It should be to make intentional choices. And if you don't know how to make those intentional choices, or what those intentional choices are, or if you're watching this right now and you're going, dang, Mike, everything you're saying sounds right. I don't want someone to open up 10 tabs and have me standing there where I'm being debated upon. I want them to just see my listing and go, if this is available, this is it. Because that's how you get from the top 10 to the top one or the number one listing. It is not by doing more or necessarily spending more. It's by doing different, correct things on purpose.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure how to get there, everyone says, how do we work with you, Mike? The answer is join Vodyssey. We are Vodyssey Design, but we keep that for our clients so that that unfair advantage stays with us and not out there with the rest of the world.
Yep.